Hey, welcome. I'm running way behind. I've had a number of customer answers that I've had to provide. I've had new folks contacting me from Kansas, from Canada. It's been a buzzing, busy Monday morning, but at last I'm able to set up this live stream, which takes a while in itself, in case you didn't know that. It's not a matter of just clicking a button. I wish. I've got to get all kinds of things set up, including the sew off material in that. And excited to present this very rare and spectacular Viking Husqvarna 19E special. And I haven't even mentioned to the customer, I think, that this particular machine was born back in 1966. So you know what? Compared to some machines that have been on this workbench, this is a fairly young machine from 1966. That makes it only about 56 years old, approximately, if I'm doing the math right. And I'm not a math person. You guys know that already. So I might not be nailing it, but more than 50 years old. And this really was a machine that came on the scene as an answer to those Swedish beauty lovers that didn't want to bother with putting cams in the back of the machine, but they wanted the core stitches that everyone wants. And that includes a zigzag, blind hem stitch, obviously a straight stitch. And then as a bonus on this 19E special, you get this super cool 3-point zigzag. And the 3-point zigzag, when you lay it down on leather in particular, it's just wow. It's just amazing. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous stitch. And Kimberly, out of the great state of Massachusetts, specifically Clinton, Massachusetts, is hoping to do some leather sewing. Nothing off the charts, but she's going to really try to put this Swedish beauty to work and also try to tap into the possibilities of using some heavier threads on this machine as well. And the beauty, again, of the Swedish beauties, if we kind of peek underneath the bed, right in this little compartment right here, we can see a bobbin case in there, and that bobbin case is inserted into the raceway, which happens to have a jam-free function that the Swedish came up with, which means as this is spinning, that hook inside of there, the rotary hook, is going to be moving from side to side and up and down. And the beauty of that design with the jam-free raceway is you're able to run heavier threads through this machine than you typically could on a standard rotary style sewing machine. The Swedish are super smart, and they specifically wanted to offer that to folks so that they could push the limits. Again, like I chatted with Kimberly this morning about, back in the day, this was classified as a household sewing machine. But because of the engineering, because of the thoughtful design, because of the power and the limits of this machine, it really today would fall more into the class of a light industrial sewing machine, just because of all the features that it offers, the strength of the motor, the basically the slow gear function on this as well, that takes the machine from full speed all the way down to 1/5 speed for maximum control. And I'll demonstrate that during this live stream today. And then, of course, the jam-free raceway as well. All of those things coupled together give this Swedish beauty superpowers that the average household sewing machine today couldn't even dream of. And so I always refer to Swedish beauties not as a household sewing machine, but really as a light industrial sewing machine. They're built like tanks, and yet they have the portability factor as well. I'm going to be including with this machine that I prepared for Kimberly a real nice carrying case as well. It's kind of a cloth nylon sided case. Did you already see it? I don't know if you saw it already. Let me see if I can show it to you. I like doing things spontaneously, so I'll see if I can step away a little bit. and set this up on here and show it off to you a little bit. So this is the case that I prepared for Kimberly's machine, and it's all self-contained. It's all self-contained. So not only do you have a compartment right here for extra goodies like needles and bobbins and all that stuff, you got a special little compartment right here as well for the foot controller. And then the machine slides in with the free arm going underneath this space right here. And so when I later today or tomorrow pack this machine, I'll have to take that into account so that the machine can still slide into the case under this space to head out towards Kimberly out in Clinton, Massachusetts. And then that beautiful extension bed you can see right here, that just gives it crazy workspace, is going to slide right into this compartment right here. And I always encourage customers, when they slide the bed in there, put the top surface of it, this surface right here, put this surface facing in so that when you close the door, it's not potentially with the paint patina facing out, it's not going to potentially get scratched. But this is a spectacular, I love this pattern too, don't you? I love the pattern that they came up with. And there's all different types of patterns with these cases. So, but a great way to have portability. You know what? When you're the owner of a Swedish beauty, you want to be able to show it off. You want to be able to show the machine off. I mean, look at it. Look at that. Everybody that I've ever met in the VSM space, on their bucket list is to get a Swedish beauty. And you know what? At the top of the bucket list typically is to try to get their mitts on a 19E special so they don't have to deal with those black cams that have to be inserted into the back of the machine. On Kimberly's machine, you've got this fabulous cam adjuster right here where you can basically set it at the stitch that you want. Go over a little bit further. You can set it at the stitch that you want, whether right now, I have to look upside down here, so bear with me. Right now we're set on the blind hem stitch. We can also move it over to the zigzag. And then finally over here, we've got that 3-point zigzag, which is just a spectacular stitch. I love it. And again, when you're changing between the different cam settings on here, you want to be going through a process of, I call it kind of resetting or recalibrating. So what I do is, if we've just gotten done sewing, we're probably going to have the stitch width. Oh, let me walk you around the machine. I'm all scattered because I've been racing around this morning, getting ready for this live stream, and also fielding questions from folks all over the place. So I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to slow down now. And first of all, I'll show you this gorgeous crest. Only one Swedish beauty machine model has the specific distinction of being called special. It's a special machine because of that built-in cam feature. All the other green machines, all the other Swedish beauties, similar to Kimberly's, you got to slide one of those black cams into the back of it. This one, because they're built in, they gave it the special distinction of special. So it's really a nice incentive to try to get your mitts on a 19E special. But you know what? They're like trying to find a unicorn. They're like trying to find a unicorn. They really are. And what do you think of that crest? I've shown that in another premiere last night on Kimberly's machine as well, as I was kind of cleaning up the case late into the evening. Absolutely spectacular, because again, the Husqvarna sewing machine company was founded by the decree of the King of Sweden, Gustavus Adolphus the third or second. I always forget how many of them there were. But a king made a decree that started a drilling and a grinding plant. And then eventually around 1872, the first Swedish beauty came across the assembly line. And that was called the Northern Star. You can look all that up and learn more about the incredible history of this sewing machine company. And a lot of the companies, to include Singer, will try to flex their muscles and say, hey, we were on the scene by 1850, like Singer, okay? Well, guess what? Because the roots of Husqvarna go all the way back to the 1600s. all the way back to the 1600s. Husqvarna, Viking, can claim with a lot of credibility that they are the oldest sewing machine company in the world. They were on the scene, not making sewing machines yet, but they were on the scene as far as existing by this name all the way back to the 1600s. That's like almost 200 years before Isaac Singer started strutting around saying, "We've got preeminence. We are the first on the scene." And the people over in Sweden were laughing, probably saying, "Well, good luck with that, Isaac. We've been here for almost 200 years, buddy. Almost 200 years." So that's why I've got a special place in my heart for Swedish beauties. They have been around since almost the dawn of time, and they were originally making musket barrels and a variety of other things in that Husqvarna, so in that Husqvarna, I almost said sewing factory, in that Husqvarna factory, and then came on the scene starting to make sewing machines. And now it's a household name. Everybody that wants to buy quality, even today, whether it's a chainsaw, a tractor, whatever it is, they right away will gravitate towards Husqvarna, because right away it's almost like the old Zenith TV brands. Do you remember those? The Zenith TV brands? Their saying is one of the cleverest marketing slogans I've ever heard in my life. Zenith, that used to make TVs back in the day, their slogan was, "The quality goes in before the name goes on." The quality goes in before the name goes on. That could just as easily describe Husqvarna. The quality goes in and then they put their name on it. Until that quality goes in, they don't even want to think about, "Oh, we're going to slap our name on there." Nope. They want to present something that just knocks your socks off, that will last a lifetime, and then they'll put their name on it. Okay, yeah, we'll put our name on it now because it meets our standards. It meets our standards. But again, anyone in the VSM space looks at a workspace like this and they absolutely hate Kimberly for having this machine now. They absolutely hate Kimberly out in Clinton, Massachusetts, because she has a workspace on this machine that is just insane. It's insane. Look at all this for turning materials. If Kimberly's working on leather goods, she can have the biggest, bulkiest project. And with the harp space and the extension bed space, she's never going to feel like she's cramped. Never going to feel like she's cramped. Well, let me walk you around the machine. I get so excited about these Swedish beauties, I just lose track of time. So if you want to drop the feed dogs, which we're going to be doing today, and even Kimberly, as the new owner of this Swedish beauty, doesn't know this. She doesn't know this. But I am going to be demonstrating free motion sewing with her Swedish beauty today using this attachment right here. We're going to be buzzing around leather, laying down some fun stitches using this free motion attachment. And I'm going to include this. She doesn't know this. She doesn't know this. I'm going to be including this as a special Christmas present to Kimberly so that she can goof around on leather projects and try some free motion type sewing. Oh, they're fun. It's fun. Have you ever done free motion sewing? If you haven't, you got to try it. You got to get one of these. You got to get one of these attachments because they are so much fun to goof around with. They just are. And I'm not very masterful at it yet, but we'll have some fun with it today. So going around this machine, we've got the feed dog drop right here. Right now at the 12 o'clock position, those feed dogs are fully engaged. When we do our free motion sewing, we're going to be rotating this all the way down to the 6 o'clock position, and then the feed dogs will be dropped and we'll be able to do all of our fun goofing around without those feed dogs trying to grab that leather. Our stitch width is right here. Right now on 4, we're going to get the widest stitch, whether we're doing a zigzag, a 3-point zigzag, or a blind hem stitch. So we can ratchet it down if we want to make it more and more narrow, or if we want to do straight stitching, we take it all the way to 0 right there. And this little metal tab, if you can see that, is for setting stop and start boundaries for buttonholes. I'm not a big user of this, but it's available on the machine if Kimberly decides that she wants to use it. Okay. Right here, we've got stitch length. And when we're doing some of our like zigzags and blind hems in that, I'm going to be going from the max of 4 all the way down to probably right around 1.5. Now, if you want a teeny tiny stitch, even smaller than what the average singer can sew, which is 30 stitches per inch, you can take it all the way down to 0.5 or even below that. But here's the problem. When you start to get really, really close to that 0 right there, the material is barely moving, and you might get some bunching up depending on how heavy of a thread you're using and the type of needle that you have. So just keep that in mind. For most of the green machines, if you're doing decorative type sewing with those cams that you can pop in the back of the other green machines, you're going to be right around 0.5. That's a perfect place to be if you're doing decorative ornamental sewing on these green machine Swedish beauties. And then finally in the middle, we've got a reverse button right here. Now, the interesting thing about the E series machines, the 21Es, the 19Es, is that instead of having a single stage reverse, by the time the Swedish beauties were coming into the scene in the 1960s, the Swedes had already gotten the feedback that owners of Swedish beauties didn't like having to hold this button in while they were sewing in reverse. So the Swedish, being really attuned to making their customers happy, said, we're going to make a 2-stage reverse button, which means we can either kind of push it up and in and go back and forth with it, kind of like this, or we can push it in and slightly down and it locks in place. It's locked in place right now. So we would be continuously sewing in reverse without having to hold it in. How nice is that? How nice is that? And I can just as easily push it in and up slightly, and then we're out of reverse again. So really a great advancement that, say, the 21As, the Type 21s, and some of those other earlier 1950s models, Swedish green machines don't have. They can't brag about it. Kimberly can say, if she is at a quilting retreat or somewhere else, she's showing this baby off, she can see another Swedish beauty that is of an earlier model, let's say 1953, 54, and she, the other owner might walk up and say, oh, I've got the same machine. And Kimberly can say, no, you don't. I've got a 2-stage reverse. And by the way, while you're busy trying to slide those cams in and all that, all I got to do is turn my knob on the back of the machine. I never have to put a cam into this 19E special, which is why my Swedish beauty is special and yours isn't. Yeah, that was a little bit of a, yeah, I did it. Yep, I did it. So again, stitch length here, the range is insane. It's absolutely insane. A lot of the stitching we'll be doing today is going to be in the 4 range because I want to show you the fullness of those stitches. But when we're doing the free motion type sewing, I'm probably going to be right around 1.5, 2, somewhere in that range. I'll be 1.5 or 2, somewhere in that range, because that'll give us a little bit better control as we're manipulating that material around very quickly. Needle position is right here. If you want left needle position, you turn this to the left. If you want to be center position, you turn it right there. And if you want to go right, you turn it right there. Now, let me tell you a little secret about these Swedish beauties. If you didn't know it, if you're ever sitting down a Swedish beauty and you go, well, I want to change the needle position, and I'm doing it right now, but hey, what's up? The needle's not moving. That's because we've got the stitch width on 4, and the stitch width being on 4, 3, 2, or 1 always overrides your choice of needle position, because that cam that's engineered into the back of Kimberly's machine is going to override your choice of needle position. So if we want needle position, we've got to take this all the way down to 0 for a straight stitch, and then if we move this, take a look at that needle. Makes sense? All right, I'm gonna take a breath and a drink of water real quick because I've just been and I'm gonna take a look at the chat real quick and just see who I want to say hello to. Meantime, we'll kind of angle this over here by Kimberly's machine. Holy macro, we got a lot of folks here. It looks like we've got Michelle, which is Avogard 78, if I'm not mistaken, I think. We've got Michelle here. Welcome, Michelle. Good to see you. Emma, you are a trooper. Emma's at work today. Emma works in a hospital setting in the greater Florida area as a pharmacist and is so devoted to what we do with VSM on Cow Country, she even tries to jump on if it's not going to interfere with her work. If she has a quick little break, she'll jump on. So thank you, Emma, for doing that. That's awesome. We have Favored One. Welcome, Favored One. We have Sunny. Sunny, it's so good to see you coming out again, and glad to hear that even though you're getting some pretty heavy treatment of radiation. If y'all don't know this, Sunny is a sweetheart, number one. She lives out towards the East Coast with her fiance, Craig, and has been battling cancer and has been going through some pretty hardcore treatments. And in spite of that, is still trying to stay engaged in what we're doing here. You know what? I am saluting you right now, Sonny, because that is just too cool. That is too cool. And I love you to death. And y'all keep Sonny in prayer. Would you please? Keep Sonny in prayer. We've got Patricia. Okay, I can't say it. We've got PDS on as well. So welcome. And who else? Am I missing anybody? I don't think so. Nope. I think I said hello to everybody. If I somehow goofed up and missed somebody, please forgive me for that. Please forgive me. So let me show you what we've already sewn on this Swedish Beauty. This is protected full grain leather, and we're going to be doing more of that today. These are some of the, actually, I think these are all the stitches pretty much, other than a straight stitch. And these are just some of the sew-offs that I did in an earlier premiere when a customer, let me rewind. When a customer wants to get a particular type of machine, what I'll do sometimes is a private showing. I'll basically shoot video of that machine and I'll demonstrate it. I'll explain different things about it. I'll talk about the capabilities of the machine, et cetera, et cetera. I'll talk about the features, the benefits, and then I'll do various sew-offs like this. And that's what I did for Kimberly, because Kimberly initially was looking a lot of different directions as far as a machine. And once I did that private showing, which I eventually released to the public, so some of you may have seen that, once I showed her the stitch capabilities, it was just a done deal. She and her husband looked at it and they go, "We love it. We love it. We want it. What do we need to do next?" So it's done. It's done. It's her machine. If you're looking at it now and you're going, well, maybe the deal's not sealed yet. Maybe I can still somehow slide in there and get a hold of that machine. No, it's gone. It's going to be living in the great state of Massachusetts, specifically in Clinton, Massachusetts. Yeah, it is. That's the new home for this Swedish Beauty. And then, as usual, I love to sew in circles. I'm a kid at heart, right? You guys know that. So I kind of goofed around and just buzzed around. And wouldn't it have been interesting to do something like this, which we'll be doing during this live stream today, with that free motion attachment? I was just doing this, kind of doing it, with a regular presser foot attachment like we're starting with today. And then I also did a full scope of the stitching. Let me spin that around. A full scope of the stitching. So if you happen to see a 19E special pop up, number one, if you really want a 19E special and you see it pop up, don't even blink. Jump on it right away, because it's going to be gone in a hiccup. But these are all the stitches. And again, the beauty of stitch length and stitch width is you can take any of these needle swing type stitches, whether it's the zigzag, the 3-point zigzag. These are the same stitches, by the way, right here. These are exactly the same 3-point zigzag stitch. But all we did is manipulate the stitch length to give it a totally different look. Totally different look. And that's the beauty of a sewing machine is if you're willing to be a little bit creative, you can have almost unlimited stitch possibilities, even if you only have a few stitches on your machine. By manipulating stitch width, stitch length, also changing thread types, changing needle types. If your machine can do it, which Kimberly's can do it, you can also do dual needle sewing to get a totally different look onto your stitching. So don't relegate yourself to, oh, I've only got 2 or 3 stitches, or I've only got a straight stitch sewing machine. What can I do with that? Well, even a straight stitch sewing machine, let's say we're talking about Singer, right? Let's say we're talking about Singer. Singer wanted to give more capabilities to their sewers, so they came up with something like this. The Singer Automatic Zigzagger. This will work on a featherweight. It'll work on any Singer straight stitch, lock stitch machine that they ever made. It'll work on a Class 66 machine. It'll work on a 201-2. It'll work. I already said featherweight, but I'll say it again. It'll work on a featherweight, whether it's a 222K or a 221 or a 221-1. And not only can you do a zigzag and other stitches with this, you can do the cool scallop stitch. You can do the arrow stitch. So never limit yourself on your creative possibilities when it comes to whatever sewing machine you have. Maybe you have a Kenmore machine. There's attachments for that as well, just like this. So, have fun, be creative. Don't set any boundaries for yourself. Other people will try to set boundaries for you. When they do that, just give them one of these. Yeah. Yep. So again, this is the past. We've already done all these stitches, which I think you would agree are a solid page 34 plus. Turn it over. No difference on the lock stitching. I could have just mailed this out to Kimberly straight away because I already demonstrated all these on video. You can look up the video yourself. But you know what? When I have a customer that chooses me out of anyone in the world, I want to treat them like a rock star. I want Kimberly to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a rock star. Oh my gosh, I'm a rock star. So I wanted to do another premiere, and especially once I got inspired to try this free motion sewing, I thought I got to goof around with that on camera as well. And I'm not going to do it as a pre-shoot and then do editing like some folks do on YouTube. I'm going to do it as a live stream because I'm a rebel. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to goof up because I goof up sometimes. You guys know that. But at any rate, let me stop blah, blah, blahing and let's actually sew with this machine. What do you say? Let's actually sew with it. Let's do that right now. And then remind me, and I'll try to keep a tab on the live chat. Remind me. Oh, hi, Christina. Christina has joined us from Brazil, right? Christina is from Brazil. So if anyone wants to be adventurous and jump into Google Translate and shoot a couple of notes to Christina in Portuguese, they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Man, oh man, you'll be on my favorite student list. You get an A for the class. Speaking of class, I haven't done it in a while. So class is officially started now. But isn't it fun that we can be via some folks and we can have people join on a live stream like this on a Monday from all over the world? We had someone from Germany last night. Gosh, we're so fortunate, aren't we? We're so fortunate. All right, let me move us to the side. And again, we're going to be starting with some basic stitching. Basic stitching. I've got some of this genuine cowhide. Let me move that as well. I've got some of this genuine cowhide. I was kind of testing it last night a little bit. Getting something weird with the light. Let me see if that helps. No, that doesn't help. See if that helps. Let me back the camera up a little bit, see if that helps. I don't know if you can see that on your end, but I get like a scrolling almost across the screen with the light. Let's see here. So why don't we start with what I would consider easy for a Swedish beauty, but most people would consider to be a little bit of insanity. Genuine cowhide, we're going to be doing 2 layers of it, which is about 6 or 7 ounces of leather. If you want a measurement, it's going to be about 4 millimeters thick, 4 millimeters thick. And we're going to launch into this. And again, if you didn't know it, the 19E Special has a 1 amp original Swedish motor. So it's not the 1.5 amp that you find on some of the earlier models like the Type 21s, the 21As, and some of the 21Es. But you know what? After I go through a motor, this machine is going to have a reserve of power that Rebecca will be able to sew crazy levels of leather with it that, again, are way out of the class of a household sewing machine. They are in the light industrial realm. So let's get this underneath the presser foot and do our first sew off after all of that blah, blah, blah. Get that into position, get our camera over a little bit closer. Trying to set my lighting so it's going to work best for us here, if I can. That's the light on. That's the light off. We'll leave it on. We'll leave it on. And whenever you launch with a Swedish Beauty, you guys, whenever you launch with a Swedish Beauty, always make sure your take-up arm is at the highest position. So it's in the process of coming on the downstroke. See that? If I rotate the balance wheel a little bit towards me, it's on the downstroke. Then you're not going to get any hesitation. You're not going to get any delay, and you're not going to burn up your belts. Because if you try to launch in a position where the needle is lower, you're going to run into problems with stressing the belts that are on this side of the machine. You don't want to do that. So just start right about there where it's on the downstroke. And let's sew off our first sew off, which is easy for us, but would break a lot of the contemporary machines. It just would. Get this a little bit straighter. All right, here we go. 2 layers of genuine cowhide. I think I almost got my foot in place. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Wow, that machine just struggled so much. It could barely get through it. No. It didn't even blink at that. It was like, what? That's it? That's all you're going to have us do? Really? So let's take a look at this stitching. And you know what? It's a lighter leather. I get that. And it's a yellowish type thread. By the way, I should talk about setup. The setup on the machine right now is I've got a universal. Let's do it like this. I think this will be a little bit clear. Yeah, I think so. So I've got a universal Schmetz needle in here right now. I'm trying to get it to focus. This light is just goofy today. Hold on a second. All right, let me get the stand. Maybe that'll help us. Because the light is hitting it in a weird way right now. Just bear with me for a second. All right, that's better. That's better. Now we can actually see it a little bit. So this again is 2 layers of genuine cowhide. Whoops, hold on. Air compressor. This is 2 layers of genuine cowhide, about 6 ounces of leather. See if I can move it even closer. There we go. Lighting is such a challenge sometimes. You know what I mean? It just is. Lighting is such a challenge. I'll try it one more time this way, see if I can somehow get this to cooperate, because this will be so much easier to see it if I can get it to cooperate this way. This is an auto zoom webcam, and sometimes the auto zoom doesn't want to be auto. At last! I'm exhausted. Look at that top edge. 2 layers of genuine cowhide. All right, I'm going to make you guys crazy. Let's spin it around. Look at that lock stitch now. And this is a little bit of a nappier type leather, so it'll be a little bit harder to see. Actually, at some points, it's impossible to see it. But we also have a beautiful lock stitch. And if I didn't have to hold this camera to get a clear picture, I'd be able to pull that apart. And I'll be sending these with a machine so Kimberly can actually hold them in her own hand as well. There in the very end, we can kind of see it where the nap is a little bit more flat. That's the only thing I don't like about web cameras is they're not quite as exact as a regular camera that I will shoot like a Premiere with. They're just not. All right, I don't want to drive you guys crazy, but again, look at the edge to have an idea of what we just sewed through. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. All right, so let's do some more stitching with this so I don't drive you guys buggy and trying to see the stitches. It's funny, just the way the light works, isn't it? It's just funny the way light works. All right. So we've got enough room here. We've got enough room here that what I'm going to do now is lay down some of the cam generated stitches from this machine across there. Let's see, I think I'll do a zigzag next to it. So our stitch width again is here. Stitch width is here, stitch length is here. You take it over to 4, and then we got to check to see which stitch we have set right now in the back. So right now it looks like we're on the blind hem stitch. So we've got to rotate this over to zigzag. And then the one just to the left of it is the 3-point zigzag, which we'll also do if I can fit it on this leather. Oh, hi, Brianna. Welcome, Brianna. Dr. T is here as well from Finland. Welcome, Dr. T. I've never seen Clothing Chemist before, Maybe one of the moderators can ask where Clothing Chemist is from. If we see any new names pop up, it's kind of fun to know where they're from in the world, isn't it? We also have Abraham Patrick as well, which is a new name that I haven't seen before. Welcome, Abraham. All right, so let's do a zigzag down this now. Rotate my stitch width back. And again, when you change the cam settings on a 19E Special, as you're changing the cam setting, you'll want to set this down on 0 so that that knob turns freely in the back. And then make sure you rotate this back to 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, depending on what stitch width you want before you jump back into it. All right, so now, again, 2 layers of genuine cowhide, about 6 ounces of leather. We're going to be laying down a zigzag stitch now, which, you know what, that's pretty thick for a needle swing type stitch, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's see what we get. And if it's too much, then I'll drop it down to 1 layer, but I think we'll be okay. All right, here we go. Holy mackerel. That is a brag-worthy stitch. Oh my gosh, we got to look at this closer, you guys. We got to look at this closer. And you notice there was no hesitation at all from the Swedish Beauty. And Swedish Beauties, I've seen in some posts in blogs and otherwise where someone will refer to a Swedish Beauty as a direct drive machine. It's not. It's got 2 belts on it, 3 if you count the timing belt, which is a kind of a cleated belt. But when you're talking about a Swedish Beauty, it's a belt-driven machine. You're going to have a belt. Let me see if that'll help. You're going to have a belt that comes over the balance wheel down to the bobbin winding assembly. And then you're going to have, we almost got it. The camera's almost zeroed in now. Almost zeroed in. Come on, we believe in you. Page 34 plus, folks. Beautiful, beautiful. We're seeing that straight stitch again. And now we're looking at that zigzag, which is absolutely spot on. This is not a light sew off, folks. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's look at that lock stitch. I'm just going to flip it right over. Flip it right over, and we'll look at see what we can see on that lock stitch. And again, I don't lock off my stitch ends, so if you see like a little tather or something like that on the bottom, that's because I don't hit reverse and don't lock the stitch off. Trying to move this real slow. I'm kind of holding my breath. Certain parts, because of the nap of the genuine cowhide, you're not going to be able to see. You're not going to be able to see that that stitch clearly. You're just not. I think I just saw Susie pop up from Minnesota. Hi, Susie. So again, not an easy sew off. We're looking at 2 layers of genuine cowhide. We lay down that straight stitch on the top row first, and then we lay down that zigzag below it. And both of those stitches are absolutely brag worthy. Gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. all the way across. And in retrospect, I should have sewn these back to back, and then we'd be able to see that stitch a lot clearer, wouldn't we? Oops. But I'll throw this to the back as a definite pass, and we'll move on and we'll try one of the other stitches that Kimberly's machine will do, and that is the 3-point zigzag. So the first thing we're going to do to set that stitch is we're going to take the stitch width down to 0. What that does is it releases the cam finger that reads those cams so that that knob in the back will turn freely. So now we need to turn the knob. You can see right now we're on zigzag. Now we need to turn it so that we're going to go to the 3-point zigzag, which is, whoops, I bumped you. Sorry about that. Which is right there. And the 3-point zigzag is an overlay type stitch because it's going to be hitting those key points more than once, based on the name, 3 times. And then make sure you take your stitch width then back up to somewhere between 1 and 4. We're going to go for max. But here, because I consider the 3-point zigzag to be more of an ornamental stitch because it just presents so beautifully. So I'm going to be taking our stitch length down and down and down and down and a little bit more, right about there. So we're going to be sewing this 3-point zigzag at 1.5 on stitch length, leaving it on 4, and let's see what we get. We're only going to be doing a single layer of cowhide, but that's okay. That's okay. And I'll try to go to the left side. That way Kimberly can always sew this when she gets it out in Clinton, Massachusetts. Okay, so a 3-point zigzag, single layer of genuine cowhide, about 3 ounces of leather. And again, my take-up arm is at the highest position. See, this bed is so huge. Look at how far we are away from the actual sewing action. I could try to put it up on the bed. That would be fun. Yeah, then we're like at 5,000 feet. What do you guys think of that angle? Is that interesting? It's kind of an interesting angle, isn't it? Yeah, let's try that on this sew off with the 3-point zigzag. So we're kind of like you're in an airplane right now at 5,000 feet. All right, here we go. 3-point zigzag. Again, our stitch length, if you want to try this on your 19E special, if you have one, which I doubt you do, but if you do, set your stitch length at 1.5, set your stitch width at 4, and let's just do this. Let's do it. All right, here we go. I'm just sewing all over the place. I'm everywhere. I did not sew that very straight, but that's okay. All right, move that back over there. I just love the 3-point zigzag out of any stitches, even on the machines that have the cams where you can add like cam A, B, C, D, E. This is my favorite stitch. It just is. Okay, now let's take a look at this puppy, see what we think. Oh, you know what? I did okay, though. I almost made like a little arch. I almost made like a little arch. I'd love to tell you that I planned to do that, but I didn't. Hold on a second. We'll get it. Once we get to the darker leather, it'll be so much easier to see this, I think. Hold on a second. It's thinking about auto zooming any second now. Hold on a second. I just don't think this auto zoom is a perfect science. I just don't. I don't think it's a perfect science. Come on, zoom, 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 zoom. Beautiful stitching, beautiful stitching. Again, a single layer of genuine cowhide, and we're using a size 90-14 Schmetz universal needle. I've given Kimberly a packet of leather needles, but I decided not to use them during the premiere today because I wanted her to have full access to them. All right, lock stitch. Let's turn it over for the lock stitch. Without dropping it, without dropping it. Oh, come on, buddy. And it's really going to be a bugger to try to see that lock stitch because of the light thread in relation to the leather. Kind of see the outline of it. That's the only problem with certain leathers is they have this real thick nap and they really mask that thread, especially when you're dealing. What I have right now is Coates and Clark trilobal embroidery thread. And embroidery thread just doesn't have enough substance to it to stand up on that nap on the back. If you used a heavier thread, you'd be able to see it a lot better, plus a different color, obviously. All right, that's enough of that. I'm going to say that this is a pass as well, a single layer of leather. So far we've done a fair amount of leather already. We've done, I should say during the live stream, we've done the 2 layers of genuine cowhide, laid down that stitching right there. Now we've done this single one, and we've done this 3-point zigzag. The only thing we didn't do is a blind hem stitch. I should do that as well on this material. So let me get that set up. We'll set up our blind hem stitch next. So take your stitch width down to 0 so you can release that finger on the back. And now we'll pick our blind hem stitch. So again, our stitch width is on 0 so we can move this freely. We'll kind of rotate it. That's back to the zigzag, and now we're all the way on the blind hem stitch right there. Yeah, that's just, I mean, it's like we're flying at 5,000 feet, but that's okay. We'll do it. We'll do it. Okay, so we'll lay down a zigzag. We'll lay down a blind hem stitch now. And you know what else I can do for fun is I can engage the slow gear, couldn't I? I can engage the slow gear. And the slow gear, again, is a real unique feature on the Swedish Beauties. It's right over here, and it takes the machine from full speed all the way down to 1/5 of the normal speed. It does not change the power. A lot of people have written otherwise, but that's absolutely not true. If you have a 1 amp motor, you've got 1 amps. You've got a 1.5 amp motor, then you've got 1.5 amps. But when you pull this out, it uses a gear reduction to take it down to 1/5 of the normal speed. And all you do is grab it like this, pull it out. That's it. So we'll sew this blind hem stitch using the slow gear. I'm just looking at the chat real quick to see if there's anybody new that I didn't say hello to. Nope, it looks like I'm caught up. Yay! Okay, so wait, reverse. We still have this on 0 because we took it down to 0, so we could recalibrate that finger in the back so we can move that cam knob more easily. Now we're going to take it all the way back to 4, and I'm going to leave this blind hem right around on 1.5. You know what? I'll go up just a little bit. We'll do 1.75. Right about there. 1.75 as far as the stitch length. Stitch width, stitch length. So we've got 1.5, we've got 4 on the stitch width. Let's see what this one looks like. And I will do my best to stay straight because I don't have a lot of room to wiggle here. I'll do my best to stay straight. I've got just enough room to kind of sneak past those other stitches. Hopefully I can do it. Okay, here we go. Take up arms at the highest position again. You always want to launch with this at the highest position. We're not quite there. We're almost there. We're almost there. Hold on. There we go. All right. So this is our blind hem. Let's see what this looks like. Here we go. Just double checking I didn't miss anything. Nope, I think we're good. Oh my gosh, that's huge. It's huge. I shouldn't have made it so big, so wide. What am I thinking? Jiminy Crickets, it's a monster blind hem stitch. Help, Mom, help. Wow, I should have gone more near. Oh, I didn't even change that. Sorry. Oops. You guys were looking way up. You were looking way up here. That's okay. You could see the take-up arm moving. That was kind of fun. Not really. Now, when you get done sewing with the slow gear, because of the gear reduction, it's going to lock up this balance wheel. Right now, if I try to turn this balance wheel, it won't turn freely because of the gear reduction. So what you want to do is you want to push this back in, and then the balance wheel will turn freely and easily. Okay? So now we can rotate our needle back up. Raise our presser foot. Oh yeah, that's a monster of a blind hem stitch. Should have made it a lot more narrow. That would have made my life easier instead of, but that's okay. No worries. Bring that to the back. Wow, that's beautiful. You know, when you use the right color thread, this trilobal embroidery thread, it's artistic looking, even when you do something just as simple as 2 stitch lines. One is the blind hem stitch. The other one is that 3-point zigzag. They're just spectacular. You can almost kind of see that in the shot. My camera is finally deciding to be nice. See if it'll be nice again. I doubt it, but maybe. Now see, then it goes crazy on the lighting then. It just can't adjust to it somehow. Okay, let's do it this way. Waiting for it, waiting for it. Come on, zero in. Let me try to move across, see if the camera then gets, oh yeah, I got to zero in. This is very frustrating. Come on, buddy. You can do this. You can do it. There we go. It's kind of like it forgets how to zero, in or so. I don't know what it is. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Both rows are just spot on. And again, we're not using an embroidery needle. We're using a universal Schmetz size 9014. Right there, you can see that's exactly what you want to be seeing as far as stitching, folks. That's absolutely spot on. All right, let me set the camera down for a second, which I'm probably going to regret doing because then it'll do its crazy focusing thing again. Might be able to see a little bit more of that lock stitch because of it being a wider stitch that kind of breaks down that nap, but maybe not. We'll see. You can just barely catch a glimpse of it. That's the only problem with cowhide is it's just such a thick nap on it. No matter where you cut it from the hide, there you can just barely see it on the edge there. Well, while we can't see a lot on the lock side, we can definitely see the top stitch. And that's what, that's what sets it apart right away. Only a single layer of cowhide, 3 ounces, but it's exactly what we want to be seeing as far as quality. All right, I don't want to dwell on this. But I'm battling this camera. So once I get it focused, we'll spend a little bit more time kind of admiring the stitching. And then we'll move on to the next one. Let me throw this to the back with our other one in the back there. And decide what we're going to do next. I think we'll do a little bit more slow gear sewing. So let's change ourselves back a little bit. Instead of a blind hem, why don't we do a 3-point zigzag around the border, and then I'm going to leave all of this space open here for Kimberly to test once the machine gets out there. But I'm going to try to stitch around the edges. I might have to raise the presser foot just to show you the advantage of that slow gear and being able to navigate around the edges of material instead of battling the speed of that foot controller. So we're down on 0. Let's change our stitch. Right now we're on blind hem. Let's take it down to the 3-point zigzag right there. Take our stitch width back up to 4, and debating if I want to go real short. I'll take it up to about 2 on stitch length, and I'm also going to shorten up the width a little bit so I don't have that needle swinging quite so wide as we're trying to navigate. So we're going to match these. 2 on stitch width, 2 on stitch length for this next sew off. Right about there. And hopefully this isn't like at Halloween when I was trying to sew around those pumpkins. I didn't do so well with that, but oh well. And now again, we need to engage our slow gear. So I'll go ahead and, but you know what? Before I pull this out, let me get my take-up arm all the way up, because it's going to lock that balance wheel because of the gear reduction. We'll get our take-up arm all the way up. See how it's almost on the downswing? Leave that right there. Pull this out. And we'll do this next sew off. All right, here we go. Checking all my settings. I think I got everything. Here we go. Stop right about there. And then what I'm doing off camera is I'm taking out my slow gear so I can rotate that balance wheel a little bit. Just temporarily raise that presser foot, kind of rotate us around. And I didn't go all the way to the end, but you know what? Forgive me for that. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Here we go. Turn our music down a little bit so you can listen to this Swedish beauty. Here we go. Press your foot back down. Re-engage that slow gear. Let's continue on. We're almost to the finish line, almost to the finish line. Slow gear off. Press your foot up. Already you can get a glimpse, at least, even from an altitude of 5,000 feet. Absolutely spot on stitching. And again, this is the 3-point zigzag that we laid down. Something as basic as this on this blue protected full grain leather all of a sudden takes on the look of, wow, that's really pretty. And all it is a stitching around the border. So it'll be up to Kimberly now. Maybe what she'll decide to do is take that gift of the free motion quilting attachment I'm giving her, and maybe she'll decide to do free motion type sewing in here, because you can do all kinds of crazy stuff, as you'll see, with that free motion attachment. But I'm really pleased with this. Very, very pleased. And you saw the benefit as I was trying to navigate around these edges. You saw the benefit of that slow gear. I didn't have to try to relegate speed and control it with the foot controller. I could let the machine do that for me. So it takes one other thing off of the list of worries as you're trying to navigate tighter turns by using that slow gear. And again, something that is very unique to these Swedish beauties. Very, very unique. And it's part of the reason everybody just admires these machines so much. They've got so many great features in them. They just got so many great features. So Kimberly, the rest of this leather, I'll show you the back as well, obviously. The rest of this leather is your playground now. So since we're already here, I'll just show it to you straight away. This is our lock stitching. I'm gonna see if I can battle this this camera a little bit, and we'll see if we can get a little bit closer so you can look at it. But if it really has a lot of focusing issues, then I might just give up on it. And I just dropped it. Hold on. Let's see if we can get it to cooperate. Okay, let's see what we get. Let's see what we get. So again, we got a protected full grain leather. The nap isn't nearly as bad as that genuine cowhide. We can actually see that stitching to some extent. I'll kind of follow it around as best as I can. And again, if you pull this protected full grain leather back, as Kimberly will be able to do when she gets this out in Massachusetts, she'll be able to see the quality of the stitching that right now is being masked a little bit by that by the nap of that protected full grain leather. There you can really catch a little glimpse of that stitching down near the bottom there. All right. I don't want to drive you guys buggy because it is a challenge to see it on this material with that thread. But you know what? It's a gorgeous stitch. It's a gorgeous stitch. And Kimberly can certainly always have fun with this once she gets it out there to see those. Now we'll look at these a little bit closer up than we could before looking down on the bed. Where did my music go? Hold on a second. There we go. Folks, that is some gorgeous stitching. Totality of the stitching, once the camera decides to focus. And all we did is sew around the edge using the slow gear. Imagine with some free motion quilting type decorative stitching in the middle, maybe using a different color thread. All of a sudden, you've got something that goes from basic to spectacular. So I'll leave this space open for Kimberly. I'm so tempted to sew it, but I'll be a good boy and I'll throw it to the back with the other sew offs that we've already done down there. So now I've got some genuine elk hide. Kind of see that from the back. And I also have some saddle grade leather as well. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to choose. We can either do sewing on this or that with that free motion attachment. You guys pick either saddle grade leather or genuine elk hide. They're going to be about the same thickness, pretty close. The elk hide will be a little bit thicker. You can kind of see that from the edge. But while you're deciding and typing into the chat whether you'd like to see the saddle grade leather, which is the darker one, or the elk hide, which is a little bit lighter, I'm going to go ahead and get it set up with that free motion attachment. Got to move that light. It's right in front of my face. I can't even see that. There we go. Now I can see it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take that thread through the presser foot area, kind of bring it underneath there. I'll show you real close so you can see exactly what I did. You kind of run it right between that opening there, and then from there just kind of draw it through. So both threads are going to be going to the rear like that. You can see how I attached it here on the presser foot bar. And it works on a spring. Kind of goes up and down as we're sewing like that. And this does require maintenance, this attachment. There's a slat on each side where you can put just a little tiny drop of oil in there periodically and then work this up and down to keep that moving nice and free. And there are different styles of free motion attachments as well. This is an open one where you can actually see the spring up there. They also have a closed style one as well. I'm going to move this leather over and lay it on top of there. They also have a closed style one as well, where the spring is actually inside of the attachment, but it's going to work in the same way. Kind of go up and down as it's sewing. I don't have a preference, although I can tell you that, like you can see on this one hasn't been cleaned up yet. These do have a tendency to pick up rust. And there's a little bit of rust on that end right there. I've already lubricated it, but it still needs to be cleaned up further. But they're both going to function in the same way. And the arm, you can see, goes over the needle bar, so that as the needle bar is moving, it's going to create that action on the free motion attachment. But they're really cool. They're really nice. I'm trying to do it to the music and I'm failing. I'm failing! All right, I'll throw that to the back. So let me look at the chat now and see what you guys voted or what you guys said. It is beautiful. Yes. Basic, but I could make a great patch. Yeah, it would make a good patch. You're right. If instead of reading through all the comments, can the moderators tell me, was there a vote? Was there a vote on saddle grade leather versus elk hide for doing this free motion quilting, or this free motion sewing, I should say? Can someone summarize it for me? What did you guys vote? Which one of these are we going to use? I'm going to get a drink of water while you're doing that. Saddle grade. Okay, saddle grade. I see it. Emma and Sunny both type saddle grade. Perfect. Yeah, you know what? And I don't, Sunny's saying she has to practice the technique. Let me say right away, I don't have the technique down. I'm just going to be goofing off. So we'll set the elk hide to the side and we'll get this set up. But we have a couple more things we have to do first. We'll get that kind of into position there. We've got to drop the feed dogs, right? So I'm going to rotate this from the 12 o'clock position down to the 6 o'clock position. And now all of a sudden, you can see the feed dogs have dropped down. This is them in the up position, and they're not in their cycle of rotation, so they're not as high as they normally would be. But that's in their up position, and then when I turn that feed dog drop, watch them go down. So we dropped the feed dogs. We've got our attachment on. Now we have to decide what we're going to sew with this. I'm thinking just going with a straight stitch to make it a little bit simpler for me, since I'm a novice when it comes to free motion sewing. So I'm going to take the stitch width down to 0. And I don't want a super long stitch when I'm trying to do this. We'll probably stay. What do you guys think? Should we go with 2 or 3 or 2.5, 2 1/4, 1.75, 1.5? Somebody type a number in the chat where you want me to try to set the stitch length to do this free motion sewing on this saddle grade leather. We could do, I don't want to go any shorter than 1. We could do 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75. I don't want to go above 3. I don't want to go above 3, but you guys let me know where you want me to set it. Sunny is saying set it on 2. Okay, let's go with Sunny's recommendation of 2. We'll set it right on 2 for our stitch length. We're going to be doing a straight stitch, so we're down on 0, so we're not going to be using the cam function at all. And now you guys can laugh at me as I try to do this. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing, but that's okay. I love you guys. I'll always be ready to be embarrassed. Now I'm going to drop my presser foot. Take up arms at the highest position. All right, let's give this a go. I'm going to shut the music completely off. Total silence. I'll even shut my heater off. And I will let you know that when you're using a free motion attachment like this, it's a little bit more clanky because it's going up and down. So if you hear a little bit of an extra sound, it's this attachment. It's not the machine. The machine is perfect. All right. I love you guys. Don't hate me because I'm horrible at this, but I'm going to give it a go. I'll give it a go and just kind of goof around. All right, you ready? feel like I got to pop a gumball real quick, you guys. Hold on a second. I need a gumball to free motion here. I'm going red and I'm going pink. I better only go with 2. I'm only going to go with 2. All right, here we go. This is a dose of humility for Scott. All right, here we go. Oh, man, I'm already off course. Yikes. Hold on. I'll get it. This is fun, you guys. I wish you were here. I'd let you do it too. Although I did sew over my thread. Let me clip those threads real quick so I can have a little bit less trepidation. All right, here we go. And I tried doing this as I was kind of prepping for this premiere. I tried doing this with the slow gear, but I agree with Annette from Texas. Annette and I were talking about this. It's been a while back. Annette and I were talking about, wait, Emma typed something about 1.5. Do you want me to try to reduce the stitch length? It's not going to have a big impact because really, to some extent, what we're doing is we're getting less. It's not really going to have an impact because I'm really kind of controlling the stitch length. Just like right here, you can see the stitches are huge right there. That's just a product of the motion that I'm giving the leather. So the stitch length really, I asked you guys to give me a number, but it's not going to have a huge impact on what we end up getting. It's more so what I'm doing. Like Sonny said, it's more so technique than it is the stitch length setting. You can still set something. It doesn't matter. Also, the speed that you're sewing too. I'm going to try to slow the speed down just a little bit. Jiminy crickets! We're creating something. I don't even know what it is. Look at me. I'm getting cocky now. I'm going down the edge. I'm going down the edge. Slow it down. Slow it down, Scott. Slow it down, buddy. You're trying to run before you can do something here. All right. Down one more time and then we'll stop. So I don't even know what we made. We just goofed around, didn't we? But you can see the machine is managing something like this beautifully. We got a beautiful lock stitch on the back as well as we're doing this free motion quilting. And I would be curious to try this. I would be curious to try this on that elk hide too, which is a lot heavier. But somebody that spends a lot of time doing this can perfect can perfect their technique, like Sonny was talking about, all we did is just kind of goof around and kind of navigate around the material. But the material, yeah, it is, Sonny. You're right. That's a great way to describe it. We kind of painted with thread, didn't we? And as I got more comfortable with what I was doing, I was able to get the flow of that material a little bit better. But in the end, I don't know, maybe I've been in some real high scale museums where they have the Picasso type stuff displayed and all that. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just busyness, like, "Ah!" That's kind of what we created right here, isn't it? Almost like when you have you guys ever done that where you'll nail nails into a piece of wood and then you'll take string and you'll go all over different directions with the nails? Kind of what we created, isn't it? There's our lock stitch. Isn't that interesting? And you know what I can say in honor of Kimberly, my friend from Massachusetts? I've never demonstrated in all the years we've been doing this. I've never demonstrated a free motion attachment before. What's up with that? What's up with that? But you can see the interesting thing is when you don't have the technique perfected, or maybe I could argue maybe I got the technique perfected, you can get a huge variation of stitch length. Everything from here, right there, where I mean we've got like mega stitches, don't we? And that's a product of the speed in which I'm manipulating that leather underneath that free motion attachment, this little magical doodad right there. So once you get this down, and I know we've got free motion quilters. I don't know if Roz out in Michigan does free motion quilting or not. She's a master quilter, a fourth generation quilter, but I don't know if she does quilting like this. I've got other customers of mine where I've serviced their light industrial machines, and they do free motion quilting like this as part of their quilting design. But it is quite fascinating, isn't it? I think it's fascinating where you can get such, I mean, if you're, let's say your machine, the max stitch size is 5 stitches per inch, you can say, I'm going to go bigger than that. And then you can lay down some of the larger stitching like we did on this little design. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Yeah, I like it. I like it. So I'll throw that to the back as well. That'll go with the machine as well so that Kimberly can look at it and go, wow, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Scott did pretty good on that, considering he doesn't have really any level of experiencing do it all. But again, look at these stitches right here. Those are absolutely amazing. Those are probably, gosh, probably like 4 stitches per inch. And if I had better timing, I probably could have done 3 stitches per inch, made them just enormous, like mammoth stitches. Yeah, super cool, super cool. So you guys know we got to do this, right? You know we got to try this elk hide. We got to do it. We got to try this elk hide. I wish one of you were here and I could just say, Sonny, you give it a go. Emma, you give it a go. Susie, you give it a go. Michelle, go ahead and give that a go. Or one of our other folks. Yeah, that would be fun. I'd like to have you guys give it a try. You know what I'm curious about right now? I'm really curious about this. I'm going to take off this extension bed for a second and check our bobbin to see how much thread we have left. Set that right there. Because this will give me a chance to show Kimberly well. I mean, it's very basic with any sewing machine, but you just pinch these little fins in on either side. There's a fin there, there's a fin there. You just pinch those in. We'll take it out. We'll just check our level real quick on thread. We're not too bad. We've got enough to goof around a little bit more. And I do have another one wound back there if we run out of bobbin thread. So we're going to keep going. We'll goof around on this elk hide and see what we get. But again, what I was talking about as far as this machine being able to handle heavier thread, this is our hook system right here. And notice it's not in a fixed position. See, it can jiggle around. I think you can kind of see that if I put the light in there real well. It goes up and down, goes side to side. So as this is turning very rapidly, as we were just doing that silly free motion sewing, this thing is going around and around, obviously, but it's going up and down, it's going right and left, and that's what allows you to run a heavier thread in the bobbin case. Whenever you're sewing with heavier threads, anything say above a 69, you want to put that heavier thread in the bobbin case, because when it's running in that raceway, that needle's coming down and it's grabbing that thread and creating that lock stitch, and it's feeding to the top stitch. It has to navigate so much less than that top thread that has to make it through these pressure discs over around here, down there, down here, and then eventually through the needle. So the heavier thread always goes in the bobbin case, and then you find a matching color that's lighter that you can put up top. So yeah, just a simple little tip so that you're not frustrated. All right, let's get this back in and we'll try out this elk hide. That'll be fun. Pop it back into place. Next one, what is this? Billy Goat something. Come on, give me some music. Just turn it on nice and soft. Yeah, this is a pretty classical song. I like it. Classical music when we're doing free motion type sewing to put my heart at ease. And you know what we could try to do too is we could leave the extension bed off so I can get the camera a little bit closer, and that way you guys can see even more how much I'm goofing up, like here. Yeah. All right, let's get that into place. We'll drop our thread first. So just hold on to the tail of your thread, rotate your balance wheel towards you, and it'll grab that thread from the bobbin case to pull it up. And again, I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence at all, but we have all folks of different levels, some of which have never sewn before. Remember our friend from Brooklyn, New York, Sibel? Sibel has never sewn really before in her life. It's something that her mom tried to get her to do, and she never would do it. She was like, I'm not interested, Mom. I'm not interested. And so Sibel never learned how to sew, but now as she's gotten a little bit older, she's like, this is something my mom was passionate about. She was a seamstress from Turkey. She was a master sewer. She did it every day. I want to learn how to do what Mom did. I want to learn. And that's why she got that 401 from me. Or I should say she sent the 401 for me to work on for her. You see right now it's just loosey-goosey. It's because we haven't rotated that take-up arm up yet all the way. And as we do that, watch this free motion attachment. It starts to drop down. Watch. Dropping down. There we go. All right, so we're going to try this again. What did Emma had suggested? 1.5, I think. I'm pretty sure she said 1.5. So we're going to take this from 2 all the way down to 1.5, but it's really not going to matter. It's going to be up to me based on my manipulation of that leather. It's going to be up to me to set that stitch length as I move it. If I move it faster, I'm going to get longer stitches. If I move it slower, it's going to be hammering that leather, and we're going to get much stubbier stitches, aren't we? Yeah, we are. So let's see what Scott can do this time. And if y'all want to put laughing emojis, I'm cool with that, because I am really, like I say, sometimes a teacher, always a student. I am a student in the free motion sewing realm. Oh yeah, I am. Oh yeah, I am. All right, let's see what we get and not throw a fit. I'll try to do a little more thoughtful design this time, but I doubt it's going to work real well. I shouldn't doubt. You should never doubt what you're not sure of. Yeah. All right, here we go. Silence. Here we go. Yeah. Just checking to see if I have everything set right. Yes. Okay. Oops, I just sewed over my thread. Oh, booger buns. Hold on a second. Oh, is it too late? Probably it's too late. See what I mean by novice? All right, I'm just going to clip the thread and we're just going to keep on moving. So there we sewed over the thread. I didn't catch it in time. Doggone it. All right, that's okay. All right, here we go again. See, I'm going slower now. Look at the length of those stitches. It's fascinating. There's another thread. Let's get that one. There we go. All right, let's do like a little zigzagging, almost like in Wisconsin when it gets to be slippery out. You kind of do like a fishtail type thing with the car. Let's try to do a little bit of that. Here we go. Trying to make points. I'm kind of getting the point, but not really well. Now we're going to be ambidextrous and we'll go back the other way and make some points, won't we? Now we're kind of doing a little circle, making a circle. Oh, I wish you guys were here. We could have some fun. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a mess. It's a pretty mess, though. All right, I'm going to stop there. I'll be good. And yes, I will give Kimberly a full bobbin of thread to start with because I think I just used all of it up. Oh, it is fun though, isn't it? And you can imagine if you perfected this technique like Sonny was talking about, you could just create some masterpieces. You could draw, you could do embroidery, you could do some pre-layout here, maybe drawing some patterns and then fill it in with that free motion attachment that I'm giving to Kimberly as a Christmas present. It just really opens up the options, doesn't it? And there's our lock stitch on the back, other than where I sewed over my stitching. That's also spot on. Beautiful stitching. And they're all varied lengths. Some are really short and stubby, where I was kind of stalling out a little bit. And then as I got more of a flow and I got cocky and I started doing the little pointed edges around the outside, all of a sudden we started getting longer stitches. And again, this is not a light sew-off, folks, that we just did on Kimberly's machine. This is about 4 ounces of chemically processed elk hide. So it opens up the possibilities for Kimberly, who wants to start working with leather, to say, I'm not limited by what all those people are saying in the blogs, where a household sewing machine like this 19E can't handle elk hide. That's my answer right there. We just did it. And we did it over and over and over and over and over again. So, yeah. So, yeah, if you guys got a chuckle out of this, I'm totally cool with that because I had fun. I had fun. Yeah. Nice. We'll do it like that. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. Well, Kimberly, this is a great machine. And in spite of my lack of technique, you get an idea of what you'll be able to do with this free motion attachment that I'm giving you to go with the machine. It's going to give you a lot of freedom to be creative. And as you perfect your technique, which obviously I haven't, you'll be able to create some beautiful projects. And I hope you'll circle back and share the pictures with me so that I can share them with all of our friends. Here, I almost got something that looked pretty cool. I was on the edge of coolness. Right there, I was on the edge of coolness too. See that? But the flexibility you have for designing or drawing, I think, as Sunny had said, to be artistic is just phenomenal. You know, here we did it on elk hide. Here we did it on saddle grade leather. And again, you can look at the stitch length differences depending on how much you manipulate that material. But the machine, this is not easy for a machine to manage something like this in maintaining proper tension on the top and on the bottom. And Kimberly's machine just slam dunked it. It was like, yeah, we're doing free motion work and we're using an embroidery thread with a non-embroidery needle on leather. But hey, I'm a Swedish beauty. I'm going to make it happen. And boy, oh boy, did this 19E special make it happen. In spite of my lack of technique, my lack of skill in this realm. And then we did this fun little piece right here with protected full grain leather, demonstrating that slow gear going around these edges and getting a great outcome on this protected full grain leather. And maybe this is the piece. I'm guessing that this will be the piece that Kimberly tries out this free motion attachment. Because look at all that space. That looks like a playground to me. What about you guys? That totally looks like a playground. All of this space right here for free motion sewing. And then we also wanted to look at the strength. I mean, it's a Swedish beauty. So we sewed these 2 layers of genuine cowhide and laid down a straight stitch and a zigzag. Where is it? There it is. We sewed these 2 layers of genuine cowhide and we laid down a straight stitch and a zigzag and just knocked it out of the park. Beautiful, beautiful stitch quality. Top stitch. And what you can see of the lock stitch because it's a real nappy type material, but you can kind of see it. Maybe if I go like that, you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit better that way. Shut that light off. There we go. That's better. So this was our strength test right here. This was our strength test with a straight stitch and a zigzag in demonstrating that this, what some of the, and I explained this to Kimberly earlier today. She was like, you know, can it handle that? Can we do that? You can do it all day long because of the strength of this machine and the engineering of it. It was built as a light industrial machine, but labeled as a household sewing machine. You know, sewing leather like this is a breeze. You see both of those together at the same time. There we go. Finally I got it. Almost. Ah, I did better than the camera's doing. But again, look at that cowhide that we sewed. Then we also did this single layer and we laid down blind hem stitch. And we did that 3-point zigzag on there as well. So I always say I try to pick materials that are relevant to the customer. That's why we did the saddle grade leather. We did the elk hide. We did the protected full grain leather. And we did the cowhide as well. So 4 different types of leather so that Kimberly is able to see straight away that this is a machine that can handle leather sewing. Whether you decide to do general stitching like we did here, with some of these stitches, or whether you decide to throw on that free motion attachment and do something more like in this realm, where you can create your own patterns, your own designs, and everything else. I would like to call this design heavy traffic in Chicago. That's kind of what the Chicago Turnpike looks like a little bit, doesn't it? See the roads? Oh, man. Sonny, you are spot on, dear. It takes practice, doesn't it? It takes practice. But we still had fun, didn't we? And that's the big thing about sewing machines. You don't always have to nail it. You just have to have fun. Just have fun, you guys. Have fun. All right? I'll show you a couple other things real quick, and this is more so for Kimberly's benefit, okay? Show you a couple more things. You already know how to engage the slow gear. You just pull this out, and when you're done using the slow gear, or when you want to rotate that balance wheel, you push it back in so that that balance wheel moves freely, okay? This also has an auto clutch disengagement as well. Hold on a second. I dropped the bobbin on the floor that I was going to use. So another nice feature on this Swedish Beauty, and it certainly is true of the other Swedish Beauties as well, is on most machines, if you're going to wind a bobbin, and we'll actually wind a bobbin so you can see that as well, which is kind of cool. Let's have to move this all the way to the other side. Hopefully my cord's long enough. Okay, so as we're getting ready to wind a bobbin, the first thing we will do is we'll slide the bobbin on. Instead of turning a stop action on a balance wheel like you would most of the time, by just sliding that on, you automatically disengage the clutch. You notice on the balance wheel, there's no ability to turn a stop action. It doesn't exist. So we've got to do it down here. Sliding it on disengages it straight away. And now if I push on the foot controller, you're going to see that the needle doesn't move, but the bobbin does. Turn our music down a little bit. How long does it take to wind a bobbin on this machine? Probably about 10 to 15 seconds. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm exaggerating, but it's a very fast machine too, isn't it? So we can do that straight away. The needle doesn't move, which is wonderful. Now to set this up to wind a bobbin, I'll put on my bobbin winding music now. Here we go. So you see we have the 2 spools on the back. We've got our main spool that we're sewing with right now, this trilobal by Coates & Clark embroidery thread. And then I've got more basic thread right here that we're going to actually wind the bobbin with. So on this 19E Special, this has a thread guide here that you have to pull out. It's kind of tucked in right now. You pull it all the way out. Kind of heard it click. When you're not using it, push it in. So we're pulling it all the way out. We're going to thread the thread through that, kind of come underneath. Now we're through that. Now we're coming down to this, and a lot of people do this wrong. This is our tensioner right here for winding a bobbin, this little doodad right here. Number one, you always want to make sure that this finger, if you have a Swedish Beauty and you're always battling with the thread being distributed evenly across the bobbin, you want to have this about 4 millimeters away from the machine, and you want to have this finger pointing horizontally like you see this one right here, okay? And then you bring the thread, you kind of come underneath that little finger, and then over the top of the tensioner right there. And I'm kind of holding the spool on top so I can kind of draw it in there. Okay? And you come back over towards the bobbin. I'm going to give it a couple of winds. And after you get it, going across so that it's holding that thread down, go ahead and give it a clip. And the rest of that should tuck down nicely. So now we're going to wind it. And this is our bobbin winding music, by the way. All right, you ready? Just checking to make sure you can see what I want you to see. Here we go! Bobbin winding music. Da, 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 da. I kind of took my time, but we're done. We're done! And that's how you wind a bobbin. Then as soon as you take it off, guess what happens? That clutch is going to re-engage. So do not. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. Don't hit the foot controller right now. Please, don't do it. Don't do it! I'm going to take that off. Oh, and remember to push this back in. Move my hand so you can see it. Okay? So let's get something. We got to sew on something here so you can hear that click when that kicks back in. I don't want to sew on any of. I can just move that over there, that over there, over there. I got to have another piece of material somewhere. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, here we go. Got it. All right, so listen real carefully. I'm going to shut the music off. Listen real carefully when that clutch kicks back in. All we did was take the bobbin off. Drop that down. Raise our take-up arm all the way up. Oh, geez, I just ruined it. I turned the balance. Could you catch? You probably missed it. Doggone it. Hold on. See if I can do it one more time. All right. Now listen real carefully as it kicks back in. There we go. Did you hear it? You heard that little click? That's the clutch kicking back in automatically. And that's why they call these green machines automatic. That's why they call them automatic. All right, I'll stop while I'm ahead before I sew my finger. But isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to discover new things about machines like this? It's just fun. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to show you. I think there is one last thing, and it's not a big deal. You might ask yourself, why do I have these washer things sitting on the workbench? These things right here. And these are, what are they? 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch. Quantity 5. I didn't need 5. I only needed 1. But isn't that the case? Just like when you buy hot dogs and hot dog buns, they always give you more buns than you need. What's up with that? I think the hot dog people are getting together with the washer people because all we needed is one of these and they maybe get 5 of them. Doggone it. But here's what I used it for. When I'm going to use an oversized spool like this, so that it rides and turns a little bit more evenly. It was still doing a little bit of a wobble-dobble thing, which is I mean, that's a given. But I stuck that washer right underneath with the felt underneath it so that it gave it a more solid foundation. So you can pick up, and this is not ideal. It's a little bit too big, but if you're wanting to use a bigger spool like this and you don't have a one of those fancy tree things or whatever they call them, where you can kind of hang it off the back or whatever, you can always get yourself a washer. Just make sure you put the felt underneath it like I have here so that it doesn't scratch the machine. Gives it a nice cushy ride, and then you get a little bit more of an even turn, because otherwise what you might experience is you might experience some thread breaking, because the thread will get caught, it'll bind a little bit, and then it doesn't move evenly as the machine is demanding it. Give me more thread, give me more thread. So anyway, this is a 1966 19E special, and you've seen me attempt free motion sewing. We also sewed with the beautiful bed on, which I've taken off temporarily, put right over there. And my next step now, guess what? My next step is to pack this up and to get it heading towards a very patient but a growingly anxious Kimberly from the great state of Massachusetts. And it already has an LED light. By the way, the light on and off is right here on these. See that? And these LEDs are so great. And I do have these available, and they have them available other places as well. But I would strongly recommend going to these. It's got the little fins that you kind of plug in and you give it a little bit of a twist, because they put out about 4 times the amount of light, as you can see, but a fraction of the heat, just a fraction of the heat. So quick setup again before I forget to mention it, because I've been all over the place. I know that. The flat side of the needle goes to the rear when you insert it into the needle socket. You're going to thread this machine from front to back. And when you're looking at the bobbin case, you'll hold the bobbin case in your left hand. You'll hold the bobbin in your right hand. I could do this easier to music. Hold on a second. All right, where is it? I need some music. Ugh. Actually, I'll just show it to you. That's even better. Instead of describing, just show it, Scott. Just show it, buddy. So let's take the thread out and look at it after all of that sewing to give you an idea of how much these bobbins hold. Look at that. We still have enough thread that we could still goof around more if we wanted to. Yeah. And what I'm going to do real quick as well, so I don't forget to do it. Hold on a second. About every 2 hours of sewing, you'll want to take some machine oil. Basic sewing machine type oil. Mine's a special concoction, but you can just take basic sewing machine oil. And you want to take your bobbin case. There we go. You want to take your bobbin case and you want to swab the inside of it like this, because there's a lot of lint no matter what kind of thread you're using, especially that nasty silk thread that you've seen me using recently. That stuff just molts like I don't know what it molts like, but it's horrible. And you want to also go inside of here as well. Lubricate that a little bit, clean it up a little bit. Look at that. Can you see that on the swab? And then go around the outside of this as well, because that's where that bobbin is going to be turning, and we don't want it to have any resistance, because then it creates issues. If it's real dry, we wouldn't have been able to do that free motion sewing. That thread would have been breaking. See that? Just a little bit of cleanup, and now that's ready to take on more free motion sewing that Kimberly decides to take on. Yeah. And on these, there's also a little spring. You kind of look on the inside of there. See that little set screw that allows that spring to flex? Allows that spring to flex in and out. You also periodically want to put a little bit of lubrication on that as well, which I'll do right now. And you don't want to go crazy, just a tiny little, just a dab will do, as they used to say in the commercials. There we go. See, it's happy now. Listen to it. It's chattering right now like I do during premieres. Yeah. So again, when you're setting this up to sew, put your bobbin case in your left hand, and you want to have the thread coming underneath on the bottom like this. Okay. Slide it in and have it near, see that little notch right there? I think you can see that sort of. A little notch right. Which way am I going? That little notch. Let me adjust the camera. Hold on a second. That little notch right there. Again, the thread is coming underneath the bottom. Slide it in. Draw that thread through that little notch. Draw it all the way down underneath that that little band. That's your tension band that controls the tension for the top stitch. All the way in. It's not quite in yet. We're close. There we go. So as we're turning it, we're pulling that thread. You can see that it's turning counterclockwise. See that? So your setup is, if you forget everything else I said, when you put the bobbin in, if you look at it and you're visualizing it from the front and you go, it's turning clockwise, you know that that's wrong. It should be turning counterclockwise. Okay. And your adjusting screws are, you have one right here. Where is it? The bigger of the two screws is your adjusting screw. If you're sewing, and unlike our sew-offs today, which were absolutely spot on, let's say that our top stitch looks loose, then that's a product that this bobbin case is not pulling down hard enough. So you can either back off your upper tension slightly to allow this to have more muscle, or you can just delicately turn that larger of the two screws clockwise to increase the pull down factor of the bobbin case. The bobbin case pulls down to define the top stitch. The upper tension pulls up to define the lock stitch. They're in a constant battle, tug of war, back and forth. This upper tension is from Brooklyn. It's originally from Brooklyn, and it's always like, I want a nice lock stitch. So it tries to muscle this guy right here, who's from Wisconsin. Yeah, they're fighting all the time back and forth. So just remember that. Simple rule. If you get a loose top stitch, you can either increase this by turning it delicately clockwise, or you can back off the upper tension just slightly so that it's not pulling up quite as hard and it allows this to pull down more. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. So I'll put this back in. Actually, I'll probably not put it back in. I'll put in that brand new bobbin that's absolutely full. But I'll put it in right now just to show you. Heard it click into place. Now we're just going to hold that little thread on the back. Rotate the balance wheel towards you. And we'll pull that thread back up again now that we've done our stuff. Draw that to the back. And then you can close your little door on the front. That's it. All right, blah, 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 blah. How long has this been going? Holy mackerel. Did you guys realize we've been going 2 hours and 9 minutes? It's that blah, blah, blah factor. But at any rate, hopefully some of this was helpful. If nothing else, you got a chuckle as I was trying to do our free motion sewing. Isn't that spectacular? I may send this to the Smithsonian. I might do it, but I can't because I got to send it to Kimberly Kimberly, you send this to the Smithsonian, okay? Because it's really kind of cool looking now that I'm looking at it in retrospect. Yeah, it's pretty groovy. Not bad for a first or second attempt. So, all right, that's it. We sewed elk hide. We sewed saddle grade leather. We sewed protected full grain leather. We sewed cowhide. We did all this as well on the same needle, and I'll put a fresh needle in for Kimberly before I ship this out. So our sew off sandwich is this, on camera and off. Yeah. And this is what I do that's different than probably anyone else out there is Kimberly's going to be a leather sewer. She wants to do leather sewing. So we have hammered leather on this, both off camera and on camera. And so I've got the confidence as I begin to pack this up today that this machine is ready to go to work for her. And that's really what it's about, isn't it? When you make the investment of getting a machine like this from the workshop, you want to know that it's ready to go. I didn't even plan to rhyme that, and that rhymed. You want to know that it's ready to go. Hey, if one of the moderators will write that down, we'll see if we can trademark that. I'm kidding. Don't write it down. All right. Well, I don't know what else. Did I miss anything, you guys? Is there anything else you wanted to know about this machine that I didn't cover? Anything else? Susie's already saying bye. Susie's like, I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. So I didn't watch the game last night. I'll just mention this real quick. I did not watch the game last night, but apparently, yep, there I am. Apparently, the Green Bay Packers did a really good job against the Chicago Bears. So if we've anyone that's watching from Illinois right now, or if you're somewhere in the country or you're around the world and you're a diehard Bears fan, sorry. All right. I'm ending the live stream now. I'll put some music on. I'll see if I can tilt Kimberly's machine a little bit so we can kind of admire it a little bit as we're wrapping this live stream up. There we go. That's cool. All right. A little bit of music. Oh, and the bell. I almost forgot. All right. So music. What do we got? Billy Goat Stomp. That sounds like a great one to end on. Oh, that's boring. How about that one? No. All right, we'll be mellow. We'll be mellow. That's my shadow. That's kind of fun. Look at that. Kimberly's like, get out of the way, Scott. I want to see my machine. Get out of the way. Hey, if nothing else, we have fun, right? Well, y'all have a great Monday. Have a great week. And Kimberly, I will send you tracking information. Oh, that's bad. I'll send you tracking information as soon as your Swedish Beauty is on the way, which, I don't even know what time it is. It's after 1 o'clock. It'll probably be tomorrow, but you never know. All right, you guys take care. What a great group. I love you guys. You're fabulous. Thank you to, oh, I didn't even say hello to Mad Dog. Sorry, Mad Dog. I didn't see Mad Dog was here. I was just reading his comment about that leather will never fall apart. Oh, that's so true. I did go crazy with that, Mad Dog. I agree. I totally agree, man. That's cool. Nice, nice. All right, I gotta end it right now because music's ending. Take care, everybody. See ya.